And arguably, here we are. We're live, I think, now, Hugh.
Hmm.
And so I'm excited to be having this conversation with you. Um, I just drove uh, back to my office to have this conversation with you and all of these nice folks who are with us from a healthcare appointment.
Okay.
And I go to see this guy who owns this practice generally a couple times a month
Okay.
because through his care and he has a very particular way of operating the work that he does is unique in the world.
Hmm.
And he's the only one who does it. And I went from having about 16 migraines a month to having about two
Okay.
overnight when I started working with him. And the reason that I bring this up is that he broke my heart today. And he broke my heart by talking about another of the practitioners in his practice, and he is the owner of this practice. He's been telling me over the course of years about the difficulty that he has in getting people to meet his standards,
Hmm.
which I think many of us who have excellence as a high priority have this trouble in getting people to meet our standards. What broke my heart was that another of the practitioners in his office has essentially, kind of come out of graduate school or whatever is the way to become certified in this particular field, and has completely dispensed with the practice of this particular modality that this wonderful human in my life has invented and created. He's dispensed with it completely, and in favor of what he learned in school rather than substituting or combining them. And what he said that broke my heart was, he just kind of threw up his hands and said something to the effect of, if I alienate him or if I try to make him do it, he'll just go next door and I'll just lose all that business, and it won't help. So here's this practice, this modality that has changed my life, invented by this practitioner who's taught other practitioners in his practice how to do this particular modality, and he's given up on his having one of the people in his practice even do it at all. And it broke my heart, and I thought, I think Hugh and I should talk about what if they won't do it. What if they won't do it? There are lots of leaders that I talk to now and again who just say, I can't get my team to do X, Y, or Z. And in some way, they've thrown up their hands and decided, well, nothing I can do about it.
I have been playing a fascinating game for the last year. You might like it. It's called What If That's Not Wrong?
Mm. Yeah.
And I play it often. I play it with my daughter a lot now, recently. And I play it with my staff. And I'm thinking about I'm imagining the challenge is, well, what are you empowered to do? And if you have an objective and that objective is not being adopted by your team and it matters, what's next? Do you slink back and simply accept that there is going to be a standard of excellence or a particular modality or a force that is your intellectual property and your special gift to the world that you are now trying to deliver at scale through other people that just will not be honored because other people have other ideas about how to do things? Or do you simply take other kinds of radical action to have that which you must have done be done?
Right.
And I will tell you that it's a greasy consultant answer. And the greasy consultant answer is
Oh,
always
it
it
depends.
depends. It
Yeah.
depends. And here's what we're having a very interesting discussion right now because I think I shared with you that we're on this intriguing social media adventure where I am being interviewed by an SEO expert once or twice a week now. Well, no, once or twice a month, but I have articles that are being generated based on those interviews. And I am putting our unique intellectual property out into the world. And we have a very unique way of doing a lot of things that we do. And we believe that we're very right and everybody's wrong.
Yeah.
And we're very contrarian, not to a fault, not because, it's just because other people are bad at stuff doesn't mean that they're bad people. They just suck at stuff because there are adverse incentives in the marketplace to have them be sucky
Indeed.
because they get paid when they are sucky, and so we don't get paid
Mm.
more, and that's why we're not sucky. But anyway, don't let me get my religious views interfering with what we're talking about here. But at the core of all of this is a methodology that is distinct and unique and unlike anything anybody else has ever done in our understanding. And we struggle when we hire new people that just refuse to adopt our way of thinking, especially when they have industry experience and they can tell us all about the things they know how to do.
Right. Right.
And
I mean, so you and I and this practitioner that I've been talking about, we all own companies
mhm,
with a product that is unique in the world,
mhm.
solving
Or
problems.
worse, a process. The product would be
Right.
easy
Or
enough.
yeah,
The
all
process,
three of us really
yes,
have processes
yes,
to solve problems that other companies exist also to solve, some of which do it just
it's
fine.
fine.
And we all are hiring other people with experience and expertise
Hmm.
in doing those other processes.
Hmm.
And they are very comfortable with those other
Hmm.
processes.
Or even in some cases incalcitrant and will defend them with their egos.
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
know this and I have been doing this for 25 years and you have not been doing this for 25 years, and it doesn't matter that you're the best person for what you do in the industry that you do it and you saw people with almost perfect customer service reviews. That doesn't matter. I have emotions about this. Clearly I'm handling something right now, but effectively I can appreciate, and I'll tell you the battle's not worth fighting. The battle's not worth fighting if you determine that the thing that is in non-compliance isn't a critical a mission critical objective.
100%.
So
100%.
I realized, I think I told you, when I was in my early 20s, I was a part of an internship group at HP, Hewlett Packard, in Vancouver, Washington, one of my favorite places in the world to live. And we had an outing for a bunch of the interns to go climb Mount St. Helens as a group. And I remember there were like 12 of us, and 8 of us were in a group together making our way up the mountain. And then there are sprinklings of people that were just doing their own thing and rushing ahead. And I remember I somehow deputized myself, or I got deputized somehow to motivate these 8 people to pick a speed so we would all make it to the lip of however high they would let us go before the park closed, because you have to get to a certain height, and then if you can't get past a certain threshold, it doesn't make sense to try to go there because the park's going to close before you get far enough. And I remember we walked 4 hours, but because it was so many of us and everybody was at a different fitness level, there were people that were, never walked that much in their lives. And folks were, managing certain medical conditions and the other things. So it was just a slow trudge up the mountain. And I remember realizing, because I'd always been a part of elite teams and done all these things in my life with people that were very, very fit. And it was the first time I was put in charge of all these other folks that didn't have the same level of expertise that I did in walking and running and all these other competencies. So I remember having the insight, oh, the pace is for the people. The people aren't for the pace.
Mm.
And that was, I think I was 20 when I said, oh, the pace is for the people. We go as fast as the people can support because this is about the people. The walk to the top of Mount St. Helens is not about going to see some lava. The walk up has now become about us experiencing a connection and doing something together.
Mm.
And that's not always the purpose, but the purpose today was not about the lip of the volcano. The purpose today was to get as high as we could together. And at one point, we got to dusk and we only got to the pumice line. So if you know anything about volcanoes, you have the mountain, mountain,
I
mountain.
live near a volcano.
There you
So,
go. So you got the dirt, the regular dirt and the rock and all that, and then you get to the part where there's ash, and there's this layer of ash that goes right up to the top. And in this case, Mount St. Helens, that time I think it was like half a mile of additional pumice that you had to kind of trudge through, which is a different level of challenge to walk up
yeah.
to get to the edge. And we got up to the line that was the pumice line, and we determined that that was far enough because after so many hours success, you turn around, you look at the view, and the view was incredible. And for the exercise, it would have been nice to get to the lip of the mountain, but for the 8 of us who had made it together, that was fine. And then 2 or 3 people broke off from the group, went to the top for themselves, went and saw the top, came back down when they were ready. But my job was to be with the people that were in the 8, and so I didn't see the lip, and my life is still fine. I didn't suffer any losses. My mental health
Yeah.
is still fine. I did not see the lip of Mount St. Helens, and I'm okay with that. The lesson was powerful. Here's how it applies. If a standard that I am asking for or expecting does not align with my team, that's feedback. It's feedback. So there's an idea that I have, and then there's an idea that everybody else has. And in order to achieve our mission, as long as our mission is continuing to be achieved, that detail may or may not matter enough for me to make that a hill to die on.
Agreed.
Now, if, let me tell you a story about a lady named Ashley. She used to be an employee of ours, and Ashley worked in one of our stores. And Ashley was a badass. Ashley could make $250,000 by herself. When I say $250,000 in transactional volume, the store we had was one of these stores that required a lot of money transactions, right? She could do $250,000 of transactions on a good weekend by herself. This is where people would need help. They need to have. She could run 2 registers on her own, and she knew she was smart and she was going to go to college, but she was, uh, you know, uh, she was a college student and she could go do anything she wanted after college. But while she was putting herself through college, she would work this job with us and basically just be a rock star. Beautiful young lady, so she had the attractiveness going on, and she would be able to just manage things. And she was effective and she was efficient, and she was rude.
Mm.
She was rude to the point where she would not be respectful to her managers.
Mm.
And she was the highest grossing, most effective employee that we had. Great with customers, but a terrible cultural fit.
Mm.
And as a result of that, she had to be fired. And I would not think twice about it today. Why? Because there comes a point in time where excellence does not excuse the non-compliance and non-convergence with our core values, internal and external facing. And so firing her was the most straightforward thing that had to happen, even though that meant that that store would not make an extra $7,000 or $8,000 a month.
Right. Well, and you talk about mission, and I would say, this conversation about, is this a hill you're going to die on, reminds me of the guidance that we give when we're training managers about when to delegate, which is, when they can do about 75% as well as you can, get it gone, hand it off. And the exception might be when it comes to the core competencies that you're selling to your customers. If they're not going to deliver on those core competencies, especially if they're not going to meet your brand promise. And with this particular practitioner that we're talking about, there is a brand promise. It's written on every bit of their company collateral, from the t-shirts to the website. The brand promise essentially being, you're not going to get care here like you get other places. This is different.
Yeah.
And so in this particular case, the insistence of one of his practitioners on doing it the way everybody else does it
violates corporate,
breaks that brand promise.
Yes. Gonna also go a different place with you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is very controversial, but here we are. My CFO hates when I say stuff like this, but here we are. I don't train to develop talent. I train to train. I train to practice training.
You train
people
to practice your ability to train. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I train to practice training. I don't train.
That doesn't bother me, because if you're training yourself to train, well, you're only gonna advance your skill at training if you're doing the best you can to accomplish the training of the talent along the way.
Right. So what does that mean? That means that I am not emotionally anchored to somebody leaving, and I'm not emotionally anchored to having to train someone again. So if someone who is excellent loses their convergence compass, so they were once part of us and heading in the same direction, and now they're heading in a different direction, and they are powerful and a result of a lot of company investment, I am not here to train you to be an asset. I am here to train to train.
Say that plain. I didn't follow that.
Okay. I'm gonna say it more.
Each step along the way was just enough too abstract for me to follow.
All right, let me say it in plainer English. I am not bothered by firing very heavily invested in people.
Got it.
So that I can replace them and train again. Because
understood.
I don't train people to invest in them. That is a wonderful strategic byproduct. I invest in them to learn how to invest in people. Because the better I can convey my intellectual capital and the things that are important to the business as I see it, the better I am able to do so at scale. The faster I'm able to do so at scale, the more folks that I can get more quickly to engage the passion and the mission. And the more people that are not here means the more space I have to do that again in excellence. And that's very counterintuitive, because a lot of folks will hire people, invest in them, and go, okay, we can't lose these people now, because they mean they're who have our intellectual capital. If we don't keep them around, how are we going to operate our business? We'll train again. Except we'll do it faster this time.
And in the case of this gentleman that helped me today not have a migraine tomorrow. He is, in my view, diluting his brand and reinforcing his own sense of hopelessness and helplessness.
Yes. Well, and again, I don't. I mean, again, he may have the saying on the mugs and the T-shirts, but it may reveal itself that that's not the hill to die on.
Say
And
more about that.
okay, so you were saying that this modality of care is a huge company value. Well, I'm learning that huge company values are only huge company values for as long as they are the thing that is sexy to focus on. And then when they aren't, they change. And so I don't know. I don't know your friend, and I'm not going to make moral judgments because we're all on our own paths. But there may come a point in time where that particular core value isn't the thing that truly matters, even if it's still on the t-shirts.
Indeed. Indeed. And if that's where he comes down, then all right.
And all right.
And I won't have a place to get the care that's valuable to me.
And you find somewhere else.
Which is right, not his job. Not his job to define his company based on the needs of one client.
Well, it won't be one client. It'll be a generation of clients that are congruent and convergent on whatever it is you found important.
And I would not be having this conversation with you if he'd said, I guess we're heading in a new direction.
Okay.
What he said was, I can't alienate this guy because.
So that to me is the most concerning comment, because beyond the hopelessness, beyond the what is this my brand or what's important. Let me.
You did not, for example, say, "Oh, I can't alienate Ashley." You said, "I can't keep Ashley."
You can't.
Right.
Should choke us.
Yeah.
And what I've come to appreciate is no one, not even myself, no one is so valuable that they are allowed to derail or interfere with the mission of the company. No one.
Right.
And so if I violate that which is agreed upon that we are converging on as a team as the goal, and I lose sight of that, there are mechanisms in place to first bring my attention to it. And then when it comes to a point where I am literally endangering the company's ability to do what it has promised, there are mechanisms in place to have me sit out until I can regain composure. Because at no point is it ever okay for us to lose our way.
Agreed.
The mission is too important.
And so what I'm hoping that with the rest of our conversation we might be able to do together is to, if a leader decides this is degrading what matters to me, this is degrading our delivery on brand promise and or mission, and you've got people who are refusing to meet the standards that hold that up, what can you do instead of throwing up your hands and feeling hopeless?
Oh my God, that's the greatest opportunity ever. That's a fun game.
That's the game I'm inviting us to lay out.
So I've been saying this for a few weeks now. It's been an insight. And I found that in a lot of situations, a lot of people around me, I love them. They're beautiful and they're wonderful role models for how to be, how not to be, how to make compromises, etc. And one of the gifts that comes to me every day is the recognition when someone suffers from a fatal lack of imagination.
Mm.
And it happens a lot, but it's not a fault. It's just a missed opportunity that you get to now grasp and appreciate for yourself.
Mm.
So, what does that mean tactically? So let's make this make sense and make this useful for folks. My team is not doing what our company said we're supposed to do. Oh my gosh. That's one of the worst sales failures on my part that I can imagine. So the first question is, I basically will have an opportunity to communicate and say, okay, guys, what's really happening here? Because that just sounds like an opportunity to get some damn feedback. Because if we're so far out that people who are empowered and inspired to live into the values that we've all agreed upon have now basically said, we're not, if it's one person or 5 people or a group, same exercise, right? Just scale the response. It's a one-on-one if it's one person, it's a group meeting if it's another, and we're just going to talk and be real. And what I want to do is more listening than talking, because in a situation like that, feedback is necessary, and now I get to be humble and listen. And I'm listening for what could have happened such that the track that we were on and pointed on and converging on together has now been divested from. And my job isn't to convince people to reinvest. My job is to get them to express what would need to be possible or real or worthy or true in their lives so that they can achieve the things they want by getting back on the track that we agreed on together, or agreeing to a new track that meets their needs and doesn't violate the mission that we had. Maybe there's a new mission to be had. I don't know.
Right.
But the curiosity is half the exercise. And if my team is giving me feedback that they have shut down for whatever reason, that's an awesome opportunity for me to re-engage. That's an awesome opportunity for me to engage.
So let's go back to Ashley.
Yes.
Right? Because we're talking about one individual.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley, essentially, it sounds like, refused to meet the standard of these core values.
Yes.
So how do you get from she's a producer
Mm-hmm.
to she has to go? And I'm guessing, knowing you as I do,
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't you just watched her behavior, decided her behavior didn't fit your core values, and so you fired her.
No.
There would have been communication that happened along the way.
Ashley had choices to make. So we said, Ashley, you are incredible. The output that you put out there is incredible. You are helping the company achieve amazing things in the store. What's going on? What's going on with you and your manager? What's happening that this is the attitude that she is communicating that she's experiencing? Tell us your side of the story. Because one of the things I've learned in customer service, and customer service is not just for customers. Customer service is how you engage people who own your business. They engage people who work in your business. You are your customer service rep to your employees. So you want to find out information, not from a place of authority, but from a place of genuine curiosity. What's your story? What's going on? And we had enough sessions with her to find out that her trajectory was just taking her on a path where she just wasn't interested in being the person that was converging to her values. And you know what? Here's the really crazy part about that. That's not wrong.
That's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
No one has failed any standards. No one has lost the game. You have missed no trains. You just have a series of standards to which you want to converge. You have a series of goals and a perspective that now has taken you in a different direction. And that in itself is a neutral event. we are the ones that make that right or wrong. So if you can simply play the game you're playing, you recognize, hey, I really I had a vision for her someday being the store manager. But that's my vision. If
Right.
she's in a place where she wants to do something else and be something else, and working in this particular way doesn't
Yep.
find itself congruent, then go do what you got to do.
And what I hear you saying, and this is part of how I work with our clients around things like that, is there is nothing better about a round peg than a square peg. They are equally good,
They're equivalent.
right?
Yes.
They are pegs of perfect shape.
Yes.
And if you have decided that your company is a round hole
The square
because
peg
of
is going to
core
have
values
a
or
rough
because
time.
of mission or whatever,
Mhm.
then the round peg, fantastic. We humans turn out to be more malleable than we think, right? So if somebody comes into our company as a square peg, and we realize together this person is a square peg, then as you said, they have a decision to make.
Mhm.
You can either round, or you can decide to go.
Well, and truth be told, I mean, again, my perspective is a little perverse, but here we are. My job as the CEO is to help you find your best and highest use, even if it's not with us.
Right on.
Like, so firing to me isn't this terrible thing of a failure. You know, we have failed
Yeah.
to find that place, and you have failed. You know what? Okay, so it didn't work out. I am now
And
creating space for it to work out in some other fashion.
and if you are doing your job, in my view, as a leader, according to my values,
Sure.
then there is not a punitive bone in your body, not a punitive frequency in your communication when you fire that person. It is not a question of just like the square peg is not punished. It just simply
Not gonna
does not fit.
It's not gonna be that
It
hole
doesn't
today.
go.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a matter of fact event.
It's an exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so let's go to your friend. So where I realize I cannot yield. And this is tough because I have some pretty there are folks in our company that have a lot of longevity. They have a lot of experience. They have a lot of say and power. But nobody, not even me, is above the company's ability to function and be what it needs to be. So some people are easier and higher. I'm sorry, some people are easier and some people are harder to fire. And what you do, if you have a truly authentic conversation in which we are playing the game, that we find ways to not make this wrong, you will hear from the person who has given up or who has gone in a different direction that they're just not in alignment. And part of your job, if they are irreconcilably out of alignment and they are necessary, you design the exit. And you design the exit amicably, if you can.
One of the things that our clients thank us for, in fact, is helping them to decide what are the hills on which we're going to die,
Mhm.
and what are the hills on which where it doesn't matter enough to us. And we help them eliminate policies.
Yeah.
Because if you have a policy that is not actually a hill you're willing to die on, then the fact of its being a policy is going to degrade the integrity of your whole system.
Because people aren't following
And
it,
so,
they're not respecting it. So if they don't respect that, what else can they disrespect, right? That's
right.
the whole idea.
And so jettison every hill you're not willing to die on, jettison every policy you're not willing to truly enforce, whatever enforce may look like, is maybe a different conversation. And then they thank us for we told everybody these things are actually standards, and you will be expected to, you must, in order to stay here or in order to achieve X, Y, or Z, you must meet these standards. And some people inevitably say, oh, well, if that's for real now,
Peace.
then I'm out.
Yeah. And that's great.
And speaking of, helping people find their highest and best use, that is what happens there. And then, of course, they create an opening for somebody to whom that standard is not only not a burden, it's a delight.
And they're an upgrade.
100%. And there's a little bit of time in the meantime, perhaps, which might be painful.
Yeah.
And more often than not, there's so much relief across the team to not be pulling that drogue chute that it actually turns out to be a often a period of less pain.
We had a similar experience. We actually hired two individuals to our organization, and one of them did not continue with us. And it was a protracted period of time. I think they lasted like 7 weeks or something like that, or 8 weeks. And we really tried to make the square peg round. It was a true effort, lots of it.
Yeah.
And when it was just finally clear that they just weren't a fit, it was so interesting. I got calls from almost every staff member at some point over the following month and a half that they were so relieved that they were gone. Even people who didn't interact with them, they were like, oh my gosh, I saw this person and I thought immediately, they don't fit here, but okay. But okay, we're going to see. And it was really intriguing because the other person has been one of the best hires that we've ever had, and they went through the same training program and had, it just amazing. And the decision to let go so that they could go find greener pastures was not an easy one. I've never had a situation where I had someone get fired or left that I went, I wish I couldn't. I wish that didn't happen. Like I've not had that happen yet.
I haven't heard many stories. I don't think I've ever heard that story from anybody.
Yeah.
And we've talked about what happens if they won't round, right?
Okay.
We've talked about, you've decided this is mission critical. One of the other things that I think is so valuable about saying, okay, this shape is a requirement. These behaviors are a requirement, whatever it is. We aren't delivering on our mission, or we aren't delivering on our brand promise without this. And so this is obligatory, is when you make somebody, when you say I'm going to require that you make this decision. For some people, it is actually a great grace and a forcing function for them to actually make that decision, and their lives become easier, more grace-filled, less torturous, and less friction-filled as a result of choosing to, now that this standard really is a standard, now that this standard really is a requirement, I don't have to struggle between my tendency and the half-hearted communication that I'm supposed to be doing this. I get to just make one decision and potentially form new habits and give up that feeling pulled in two directions because there's only one direction that I'm being pulled in anymore.
And then there is another alternative that we've experienced. I think I've told you this story, but I'll tell it a slightly different way with a slightly different bend. So I had a director who was a part of the foundation of our core values. I think I told you it took like 6 months for 12 of us to decide what our core values were. I did not know that that would be such an intense experience, and it was. But when we were done, we have. I think this is we. I think we sat in and decided all of them in 2019. So it's been almost 7 years since that exercise, and the company is just in a different place thanks to the exercise. Like a lot of the same founding members that made that original list are still with us today.
Mm.
That says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One of my directors had an issue maybe 3 or 4 years ago with one of the core values. She always did, but she just kind of shook her head and kept going. And then it just started to weigh on her. Every time she heard it, it would make her physically ill. And it got to a point where it was starting to affect whether or not she'd want to stay, because
Mm-hmm.
it was such a it was offensive to her that she had to hear it, that she had to feel like she had to be held to it. She had to speak into it. It had to show up in all of our collateral, in our sales calls, and all sorts of stuff. So she was very, very not happy. And she was able to have a forum to express her dissatisfaction. And when she did, one of the footnotes is that that core value was my favorite. Like I personally base my life on that particular core value. And so when she raised her objection in public forum, there were quite a few folks that were not open to that one changing because they knew
Mm-hmm.
how important that one was to me. And one of the things I had to do in that moment was I had to really evaluate, okay, what is really happening here? And is my colleague being heard?
Mm.
And so one of the things I did was I articulated her position in such a way that, again, it was not my opinion. I was in absolute antithetical opposition to it, but I needed to be able to articulate it on her behalf so that it could be heard and understood. And so I did.
Yeah.
And I advocated for her to be heard and express the idea in a way that it could be understood completely, and then the team could decide. And what ended up happening after I articulated her idea, which I was very much opposed to personally internally, but that was not my job in the
I
moment.
don't like this idea. And here is this idea as well articulated as I can
As it
articulate it.
could,
Yeah.
exactly. People saw it, and all of a sudden these defections started happening where people are like, you know what? Now that I hear it
Yeah.
that way, I can see.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was the rearticulation of that core value in such a way that it did not take us away from our core mission, but it was adjusted so that way it was inclusive of everyone else. And that one has now become my favorite core value, because even though I was the one that was most powerful in the system and it was my favorite, the world could expand enough with enough flexibility and imagination such that it could morph a little. Just a
And
little.
what I think I hear you saying is that the articulation was something that you loved, but the articulation represents an idea that is beyond articulation, right? Like all language is trying to convey some meaning.
Hmm.
And the new articulation, I think I hear you saying, contains the meaning
Yes.
that was what made it your favorite. And
Yes.
so it retains that
Yes.
favorite status.
But it
And
lost its edges
it
for
lost its
her.
edges for her. And so you both now have an articulation that contains the most important aspect of the meaning for
Yes.
you and for her,
Yes.
and it's now a pill she can swallow.
And the rest of the team was completely in alignment. So we didn't have anyone at the end of the exercise in resistance or opposition to where we were going.
Yeah.
And so the major point there is there's also the opportunity to take a look at the mission and the core values and see if you can take the edges off.
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to still achieve that which we are after and create room for this human being who, if we can determine that they are operating in good faith, are just looking for an opportunity to make this an easier place to work?
Right. Yeah. And I think very often we chafe at the articulation when the meaning maybe we wouldn't. And there's so much, there's so much, speaking firsthand, I have sometimes so much fear
Mm.
that honoring your argument so much that they call it steel manning the argument as opposed to straw manning, right? Where I make your argument as well as I can, maybe even better than you can, so that you, to the extent that you can say that's exactly right, can feel like a terrifying operation.
And you know, I had an interesting moment with my daughter. We were playing a game, and this is going to get a little gross, but here we are. So we talk about excrement. Excrement comes out of the posterior, urine comes out of the bladder, snot comes out of the nose, spit comes out of the mouth, airwax comes out of the ears, tears come out of the eyes. What comes out of the brain?
Interesting.
So she was telling me, well, you know, my ideas are beautifully perfumed farts. And I thought that was hilarious for lots of different reasons. But I digress. The reason I'm bringing that up is that I have come to appreciate that no matter how powerfully engaging and inspirational and desirable and wonderful our ideas may be, they are still poop from the brain. So don't get too attached to any idea that you might have. Don't get too attached. It's just an idea. So can you flex it? Can you bob it? Can you weave it? Can you play with it? Can you massage it? Can you have it wiggle just a little bit? So that way it gives space, time, energy, a little compassion. Can your ideas have an opening so that other ideas can sit down and have a rest? Can your ideas be like bamboo? You know, maybe, okay, yes, I get it. It's very monumental. You can change the world, but can the idea breathe a little?
There are folks in the world who I think of as spiritual teachers, though they don't bill themselves that way. One of them is Chris Voss, FBI hostage negotiator who wrote the book Never Split the Difference. And I'm sure I've brought this quote up on the show before. Right? He says, never be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't take something better if it came along.
Right. And so in the same vein, and I will stop talking in a second and let you finish your point. The point I'm making is, yes, the idea that we're articulating and we want to like and be committed to, I am sure it's a great one. And how amazing would it be if that idea could live beside someone else's, where it's big enough, where we can have enough space so that everyone is invited to the party and we can have a shared mission that multiple people can be really excited about because we've articulated enough space for it to all breathe. Please finish your point. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, I mean, my point is just simply that what you're saying reminds me of that, and that reinforces what you're saying. I have a mentor named Anahata Graceland who makes it a distinction I'm sure other people make as well, between the quantitatively what you want versus qualitatively what you want. Quantitative meaning this is the form that I imagine, right? I want a 32-foot yacht in this marina, right? Well, what is it about that 32-foot yacht and this marina that make that desirable for you? Well, it gives me a sense of freedom, and the marina is in a beautiful and convenient location. So it's beauty and convenience and freedom that you're looking for.
What you
Those are
feel,
qualities,
what
right?
you want to feel versus what you want to have. Got it.
Yes. And so very often it's so easy to get attached to the quantitative desire or quantitative uh, goal that we can lose sight of things that will qualitatively bring what we want. And it reminds me of a joke you probably heard about the guy who in a flood, the flood rises through every level of his house, and eventually he ends up on the roof. Very devout fellow, ends up on the roof. A boat comes by and offers him a lift off of his roof, and he says, "No, thank you. God will save me." And then uh, a bigger boat comes by as he's kind of getting up onto the chimney, and they offer him a lift. He says, "No, thank you. God will save me." A helicopter comes and lowers a ladder. He waves them off as he's standing on his tiptoes. We can't even see the house anymore. It's just his head above the water. He reaches up for a moment and then says, "No, my faith is more important than my life. God will save me." And when he finally drowns and ends up at the pearly gates, he says to God,
Why'd you save me?
I thought you were going to save me. And God said, "I sent 2 boats and a helicopter. What more do you want?"
That is a good one.
So, thank you, Hugh, for joining me for this conversation. Anything that you would want to say before we wrap it up?
I guess I just want to just send the point home that your friend, I don't know that anybody, again, the exercise in the game is how to not make things wrong. So I acknowledge his journey, and I see and I hear his frustration in the I don't want to alienate this person. And where we see actions like that, it's not appropriate to judge because we don't have enough context. At the same time, we can learn lessons for ourselves. And the lesson that I continuously have to learn is, where are the points for which I am going to remain infinitely flexible and responsive to a challenging universe, a friendly universe, but challenging universe, in which I will either have to be flexible, or that flexibility also requires that I make hard choices and endure loss.
Yep.
And I guess I just want to say, as unconcerned and as disconnected as it might seem, loss is okay, because you have no idea what's going to be created in space that will attract the thing that allows you to achieve what you want even faster.
I think that's so well articulated. It brings to mind for me this idea that loss or excision always creates space, right? I was fired from a job, and it created opportunity that my life is so much bigger and more adventuresome in ways that I'm so delighted by as a result of that firing years and years ago now.
Yes.
Allowing someone who feels like key talent to go another way creates space into which something will come. Another friend and mentor who has been in my life as a mentor long ago, and friend still, Steve Roberts is his name, and he when he works with leaders, he asks them to really distill down what's essential. That's one of the questions that he asks and then explores, and let's strip out all of the stuff that isn't the essence of what you are trying to accomplish and who you are. And one thing, I believe that I heard heartbreak in his voice as well. And over years that I've known him and heard him saying similar things, and there was something new today in this, what came across as a sense of hopelessness.
And that's okay too.
That something essential
Mm.
he has not managed to hang
And
on.
you know what's awesome is the story's not over.
Right. There is no telling what may happen tomorrow. And that is a great place to stop.
Yeah.
Folks, if you have stuck with us this long, then maybe you've been with us before. This conversation is a show we call Leadership Uncertain, where we are having conversations and adventures in confusion, power, love, and dignity. And it's my great honor to have had this conversation with you today, Hugh, and to have had you with us, folks.
Thank you. Like and subscribe. Is that what we're supposed to say?
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Smash the like button, apparently. I mean, it's just this, but apparently somehow all those electrons are going to smash that digital button that doesn't an actual button. But yes, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Comment. Hey, we'll respond to your comments. Why not?